Hey YouTube. Everyone's familiar with the concept of we don't see the world the way it is, we see it the way we perceive it or the way we think it to be. Everyone's heard that, right? Great. I'd like to propose that the way we see the world is the way it actually is. Meaning, everyone's familiar with the observer principle, right? Whereas when you look at a particle or at anything, when you look at it, it changes merely by the observer looking at it. You put cells in a dish, when no one's looking, they're in one state. When you look at them, they're in another. Atoms, subatomic particles all act the same way. Bands of light, they act the same way. They're in one state when they're not being focused upon, but all of a sudden the act of observing it changes the state of the waves, the particles that make up things. Craziness, right? Well, anyway, this is what leads me to believe that what we see, we make real. What we think happens because our perception or our judgment is so powerful that our thoughts align atoms. Our thoughts align matter. Therefore, what we see, what we judge, whatever we think, we make real. So, the whole Eastern Buddhist philosophy of we don't see the world the way it is, we see it as we perceive it, I'd like to submit that our perception is creating the world. It, it is what we see, we're making it come to be. And the observer principle, in my opinion, proves it because of the fact that when you look at things, when you're giving it energy, when you're giving it attention, it affects the state of what you're observing. And if you're observing life, observing is judgment, by the way. Just the act of looking at something is judging it. No matter if you think good about it, bad about it, just observing it still affects it. Observing it still affects the state of what you're looking at. And I think we're all looking at life. And whatever we think about life, whatever we perceive, we're projecting out into the world and creating it. So, ergo, what we think happens because the world is not something other than we perceive. It's whatever we perceive. Whatever. That's why the Jeffrey Dahmers can manifest their reality. That's why the serial killers and the sociopaths can manifest things like Auschwitz. That's why they can make it happen, is because whatever they think happens too. We're all co-creators here. Look, now the man has become as one of us. We're all making this as we go along, and to me, realizing this puts us in a better position than the philosophy that, well, we can't really see the world as it is. We can't see things as they are. We can only see our own judgment of them. Well, you know what? That sounds like something that you'd tell people so they'd never realize how strong their intentions are. How powerful their words, their thoughts, their intentions, their energy, their focus, whatever they put that on is going to grow, going to expand, going to come to life. Seems like someone told all of us a long time ago that no, you're incapable of perceiving truth. You're incapable of seeing the world as it really is. And so therefore we'll tell you how it is and you just believe us. No, no, I think we're beyond that now. And I also believe that we're coming to realize how powerful our intentions are. I know many of you guys have heard of this. It was an experiment that was done in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C., capital of the U.S., of course, has one of the highest murder rates anywhere in the world. Crime rates as well, but right up there on top with murder. You've heard of this experiment where they did transcendental meditation experiments. I think they had a few monks in those areas that would meditate, and all of a sudden the crime rate dropped to zero, or the murder rate dropped to zero, and violent crimes drastically dropped. a noticeable amount. As soon as they did it, it was observable that whatever those monks were doing to the vibration of that place, whatever they were sitting there thinking about, was affecting the thoughts and thus behaviors of everyone in Washington, D.C., even the Jeffrey Dahmers, even the killers and the sociopaths. If that's the case, if that really occurred, well, then all of us have that same ability, and therefore we're all walking around in this world transmitting mostly what we saw on TV, on the cover of magazines, on the front page of today's newspaper, whatever the Mockingbird repetition machine has spit out off the AP for all of us to swallow. Whatever that message is, whatever that nonsense is saying, that's what most people are walking around repeating most of their days. And look at the world around us. Look what gets created. And we can't figure out how. What if you apply that same principle that we see from Washington, D.C., where just a handful of people can collectively affect the vibration and behavior and life of everything around them? If we take that same principle, all of us as being aware monks. Monk is a term for when it's like a level, like a black belt or more like a white belt. It's when the student has learned to observe their thoughts. Then they're able to, they're given the title monk because they've learned to observe their thoughts. What if we're all monks, or what if we all became aware to the point where we can observe our thoughts? Once we're aware that we can observe our thoughts, we can project and intend and emanate just like those that were sitting in Washington, D.C., but we can do it wherever we're at, wherever we're sitting. We can emanate that frequency and that vibration, and our thoughts can have an effect. We can start to see our thoughts come to life, come into life, manifest into life, rather than the few people who control the thoughts and put out the thoughts and then everyone else repeats them. What if we started speaking our own mind and realizing that your perceptions, even your judgments, I read the Bible, everywhere Jesus went, he judged everything he saw. And then he turned around and said, well, it's okay for me to judge what I see because my judgments come not of myself alone, but through the Father of which I am one. So therefore it's okay for me to judge. But you know what? He walked around and saw what he saw and judged it. Put his intention, his thought out on it. Changed the world, didn't it? I say we all do the same thing. Just a thought, just thinking. Happy Sunday to you. Happy Sun's Day to you. Amin Ra, Amin Ra. Have a great day. Thanks for listening. I'm ICP Chad. Are you aware? Hey, do me a favor and subscribe. Thanks.